I grew up in Balmain, and you were measured by how much go you had in you. There was no mercy other than that. Well, looking back now in hindsight, the reality of them was a very cold environment. You know, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of physical abuse. When I was pinched on that murder originally, I was in Long Bay when I was 14. That there was only one sentence if you got found guilty for murder, and that was life.
Young soldier of God, steady march.
Yo, it's your boy Dave here, and this is the Fallon Show. Hope all is going well out there. God bless you all. How about you introduce yourself, my brother, and where you're from?
Mate, my name's Dean King. I'm originally from Sydney. I live on the Gold Coast. I've been up here now for about 35 years. Um, yeah, did a lot of jail, crazy junkie. Had no desire to change my life whatsoever. By accident, it happened actually in a rehab in 1989, and yeah, I just seen a lot of things within me that I didn't see prior to being confronted with what I was from the people in this centre confronted me on my behaviours and attitude, and yeah, pretty much the rest is history from there, eh?
The rest is history. My brother Dean King, it is beautiful to have you on the show, my friend. How's your day going anyway out there?
Yeah, all good, Dave. It's you know, my days are good even when they're hard, man. You know,
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
um, yeah, I can't get away from the fact of the struggles that I had in prison and being a heroin addict 30 years ago. I always lean on that. So yeah, if it's hard, it's something for me to learn. But generally today, it's been a good day. It's been a good day from the point of view. I was looking forward to having a yarn with you, so I'm excited about this. You know.
Yeah, no, I'm rapt to have you on, brother. Man, Dean King here. This guy is an absolute legend. A man that's worn many different hats over his tenure. He's actually got a YouTube channel as well, so I'll leave his links in the description so that you guys can go check it out. I'll leave a link in the comments. Author as well. King Hits the name of the book, eh, brother?
Yeah, there it is, and there's the mongrel head, a head only a mother could love there, as you can see behind the bars there. Set 8 months prior to that photo being taken, Dave,
Yeah,
I was pinched on a murder as a kid,
yeah, yeah. Well,
and
well, well, well. Look, so sorry, brother, to interrupt you.
no, you
So,
talk, you talk.
so,
I'm in your hands, man.
so I'll leave the link in the description to get that book. I'd highly recommend it. To get that book. So, man, a crazy story that this guy and a crazy story of redemption that he was able to turn it all around into a positive in the end. Well, he's a fellow brother in Christ, you know what I mean? So he gave his life to the Lord, and he with that, he was able to like he just said, had that conversion, and now he's doing a lot of positive things. But originally, from the out there in this on the mean streets of Sydney, like he just said as well, at the age of 14, he was involved. Apparently that he was involved in an event where someone was killed. And at the age of 14, that's a lot, that's a lot on the old shoulders there at that tender young age. So, I mean, brother, so grew up in Sydney, was it?
Yeah, mate, grew up in Balmain in the inner city suburbs, western suburbs of Sydney. Leichhardt, Glebe, around the inner city areas of south of Sydney, Erskineville, Waterloo, Redfern. They're all good areas, you know. I had a lot of fun around there. A lot of crazy guys, a lot of mad car thieves, and it was a working class suburb. I grew up in Balmain, and also Piermont, which was a waterfront suburb. Very hard suburbs, like you were measured by how you fought, and you were measured by how much go you had in you, and there was no mercy other than that. Other than you stepped up to the plate in life, or you got walked over and taken advantage of. And I played a lot of football as a child. I enjoyed that. Um, but other than that, I was in the boys' homes a lot. I was left to my own devices as a kid. Like you, Dave, I seek that identity, within a peer group, and the peer group that I was attracted to was the crazy kids. The kids. That was fun to me. Doing crazy things. I thought it was funny. So yeah, but because of that, I got locked up a few times in the boys' home, and but in the boys' home, all my mates were there. So when I ended up in the homes, it was like going home, because the kids that had already been locked up from the street, they were all there. So I'd go in there, be Dean, oh, what are you doing, boys? And can't Dean, let's play pool, and let's play table tennis, and come and sit over here on my table, and like, what have you been doing out there? How's this bloke going? How's that bloke going? You see this girl? You see this mate? And, so it was all, I kind of didn't look at it as being locked up. It was more, yeah, I was with a lot of kids that I was running around on the streets with. Well, looking back now in hindsight, the reality of them was a very cold environment. They were environments where, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of physical abuse, not just from the screws, but from the older kids also. The older kids used to treat the younger kids with, disregard, and you'll do it this way. And so, yeah, really cold. I get very aggressive, like survival of the fittest. If you stepped up to the plate physically and fought, you were respected. But if you didn't, you were treated accordingly, and people would, stand over you, and treat you not nicely. So I just knew, I had to fight. And if somebody tried to stand over me, or hurt me, or try to, you know, friggin' tell me what to do. My old man used to say, don't let anyone stand over you. So I would just, I was a pretty aggressive kid. I yeah, but as I got older, I was aggressive out of fear. That I got fear in me as I got older, because it got more violent. But when I was younger, I was pretty out there, and I kind of didn't take a step back, and I didn't mind a fight, to tell you the truth.
Well, how was your relationship with your folks, man? Like, were they involved in crime at all, or?
Yeah, my father, he wasn't much of a role model as far as doing the right thing. He would steal a lot. He worked on the wharfs, and he would knock a lot of stuff off the wharfs. He used to drink every day, like my mother. So he used to steal a lot of stuff out of supermarkets, and his language was very poor. Um, it was F this, C this, F everybody, everyone's no good. It's everybody else's fault why you're the way you are, Dean, or why our world is the way it is. F the world.
Well, so what was sort of going on for Dean at 13 and 14, and prior to that, that murder blue that ended up happening. Like, what was going on for you on the streets at that time?
Yeah, well, I was pretty wild, eh? Like that was pretty much all that was going on with me because it was everybody else's fault. Like I wasn't brought up in an environment where I was taught about accountability for myself and accountability for my behavior and accountability for my feelings and my thoughts. It was like everybody else's fault. So, I would, I was disregarding, law. I was disregarding people's property. I was disregarding people's hard work by stealing and thieving and stealing purses and going to pinball parlors and spending all night out on the streets in stolen cars and getting chased by the coppers. I was so left to my own devices. Like before mum and dad died, I asked them so many questions when I turned my life around, like why wasn't you there? Why didn't you put time into me, and their response was, we did the best with what we had, Dean, you're a really wild kid. And and like I was wild, but I was allowed to be wild too, Dave.
So then what has happened, man? Like, where someone's ended up, being killed? Like, what transpired that night?
Well, what we used to do, as I said, we used to look in people's backyards to see if they were growing pot, and we used to just knock the pot off. And this house, we knew that there was a lot of pot in this house, and a couple of my mates had previously gone there, and the owner of the house caught my mates knocking off the plants, and they got a huge kicking, eh? And a mate of mine said, "We're running a bit low on pot." He said, "What about that place in Evan Street in Roselle? Has anyone done that yet?" And I said, "Nah, that's ready to be done." I said, a couple of the, I won't name their names. I said, "But blah blah blah, they went there and they got a big kicking." And he said, and that's all right. He said, "And we'll see how they go with one of these if and they come out." And he leant under the the lounge, and he pulled out a big blade, And I looked at it and I went, I knew he was willing, this young kid. He was about 19 or 20. And I thought, I know he's willing and I know he will use that. And I went, no, 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 I'm not going, mate. I'm not going. Because I didn't want to know about it. And he said, "I'm only joking, Dean. I'm only taking the piss out of you, bro. Don't worry about that." He said, "We needed to cut them because I heard they were like palm trees." I said, "Yeah, I heard that too." He said, "No, no, stab anyone?" He said, "Come on, let's go." Anyway, we went, and we got in there, and it was me and him, and they were in a big cage, and he was pulling heads out of the cage, and he was cutting the heads, and I had my arms like this, and he's putting the heads in my arms, and I heard a door open. I looked over and I seen this bloke. He had no clothes on, and he had two bats or bars in each hand, and he come running into the backyard with them, throwing them around you know, like friggin' Bruce Lee, with nunchuckers. Anyway, I run to this fence, right? And I've tried to get over the fence. Well, he's got me on the back, and I fell down and I landed in a garden bed and I was knocked out. And I remember awakening from that to him and my co-accused just in this massive fight in the backyard. And I'm just hearing, ooh, ooh, ooh. And my co-is just hitting him, hitting him. And he's trying to hit him. He only had one bar in his hand by this time, and he's trying to hit him. but he's getting more. He's going down. He's getting weaker, and he just fell to the ground. And I jumped up, and I just jumped the fences and pissed off. Well, Mikowi, he jumped the fences also. And when we went in there, he had a white t-shirt on and a white pair of pants. And by the time I seen him in that end street after jumping all the fences, looked like somebody threw a bucket of red paint over him. And I looked at him, he said, "Where's the fucking keys for the car?" I said, "Darren's got them." That was the other guy that was with us in the car. So he's raced to the car and I went home. But remember I was telling you about those two kids? They got in there. Well, they took photos of them also. And when the coppers went through all the gear, they seen photos of these kids and how that, and they knew they were street kids, and they put it all together. What the hell are these kids' photos doing here? So they brought everybody in, and so
true.
yeah, unfortunately, mate, it's a terrible thing that happened to the poor bastard, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got charged for murder. So I awoke to all these detectives in the room, and they took me down to Balmain Police Station with my father, and every street kid in that area was there, man. Everyone, and I just lied. I just kept lying. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. I wrote 3 or 4 different records of interview. I was only a kid. I shouldn't have written a record of interview. And I just fucked up, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend anything. I didn't even know that there was only one sentence if you got found guilty for murder, and that was life. When the copper said, "I'm going to charge you for murder," I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll just plead guilty." And he looked at me, he said, "Nobody pleads guilty to murder, Dean." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "There's only one sentence for it." I went, "Okay." So I couldn't even comprehend the enormity of what happened to me, you know. I got found guilty for manslaughter. I'm okay with it. I don't know if Macaulay should have got found guilty of murder of it. I think it was more self-defense. But that's out of my control, you know.
Yeah. Well, so he was charged as an adult.
He was, yeah. He got the lot, and apparently he got out and he done a home invasion. That what I heard, and he went back to jail. And I don't know. Someone said he's dead. And, you know, just people generally say, "Oh, Jack's this or this one," you know. So I haven't heard.
Well, so I mean, what was it like going back into those boys' homes, man? I mean, was that a rarity, man? Like someone that age coming in for something like that? Like what was it like stepping back into there?
Yeah, no, it was. Well, not many kids were pinched on a murder. Um, yeah, most kids in the homes, Dave, they only do general committals back then. That's what that was called. It was 4.5 months to 3 years. But no kid did more than 4.5 months. You know, they used to get a general. They call it a general. "Oh, how long did you get?" "I got a general." "Oh, how long?" "I got a general." And so they never really locked kids up for a long time, you know. So I ended up getting 5 years for it, but I got a 2-year recommendation for parole. So I end up doing just over 2 years. And going back in there, you know, it was no different. I was, you know, I could handle myself. I didn't care.
So how old were you when you got out?
I was nearly 18. That it took a couple of years for it to go to trial, you know. I think I was 15 when we went to trial, and then I got remanded for sentencing, and that took about 3 or 4 months. So I was nearly 18 when I got out.
So I mean, so how was that, man, walking out of there?
Well, I wanted to get a job, and I had money from working at the meatworks. It didn't really teach me anything there as far as being held accountable for what I was doing in life. That was the biggest turnaround for me, when I was finally held accountable for my behaviour and my attitude and my actions.
Mm.
So I pretty much, I got out to where I started before I went in there. Like I was smoking dope, but I got introduced to heroin, and I become a pretty crazy junkie. Yeah, well, that when I was pinched on that murder originally, I was in Long Bay when I was 14. I had to go to a men's prison because back in the day, if you were charged with an indictable offence such as murder or rape or armed robbery, you were dealt with as an adult, and there was a section under the Youth and Community Services Act where they would take you back into the juvenile system. So I'd been to a men's prison by this time. When I got out of the home, I got pinched not too long after getting out for a heap of robberies, snatch and grabs, break and enters. Went back into prison, got back out on bail. Um, then kept running around with my brother doing crime. Decided I was going to fail to appear on all those charges while I was out on bail. Said, "I'll go to Melbourne." So I caught a train to Melbourne, and I hit Melbourne, and oh, that was an experience down there. And I ended up in Pentridge. I did.
Who did
I
you end
did.
up running with in Melbourne?
A few blokes from the Painters and Dockers. This is '83, but back in the day. Um, but yeah, I ended up in St Kilda. They call me Sid from Sydney. They said, "Oh, your nickname's Sid, right?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, whatever." And because I'd done a heap of time, I knew the rules. I fitted in. I was in F division, and then from F division I got shanghaied over to D division, and I did me lagging there in D division. But yeah, they were all good fellas. They were just crims and funny bastards. They had a lot of go in them down there. I'll give them that. They had a lot of go, and had a lot of laughs with them. No, it was all right down there, and I was wanted back in New South Wales,
Yeah, so did you
and
get extradited back to Sydney, was it?
no, they let me out by accident. So they let me out on Sydney Road at Coburg, and friggin' I walk out of the jar, and no one's there, and I just bolt, and I jump on a tram, and I go to a train station, and I got to Spencer Street, and I rang my father up. I said, "Dad, they've let me out." He said, "Silly bastards, eh?" I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Friggin' get back to Sydney. At least if you're down here, we can come and visit you." So I hitchhiked. I got to Wangaratta, and some hippies picked me up in a panel bed and took me all the way to Sydney. Went from there. I got back to Sydney. I got arrested. Got 2 years or 2.5 years. Went to a place called Emu Plains at Sydney, and then I got out again. Went back to Melbourne again. Got into a lot of trouble down there, and this was nearly '85. This was 1985, coming into it, and I was a full-on junkie. And the coppers got me. The St Kilda coppers got me, and it was the detectives at St Kilda got me, and they questioned me about all these WB statesmen that were being stolen in the area. And they said, and they threw a heap of them in front of me, and they said, "You're good for all them." I said, "Ah, bullshit, I'm not good for any of them." He said, "Stand up." And I stood up, and he starts getting into me, right? And he goes, "Sit down." I sat down. He said, "You're good for them." I said, "No, no, no, get up," right? And he's soft, this bloke, right? He said, "You think you're a smart ass?" I said, "I don't think I'm a smart ass." I said, you're saying I'm good for those friggin' those things there. I said, what are they? He said, you know what they are, all those cars you've been knocking off. I said, I haven't been knocking off cars. He said, if you don't nod your head to them, he said, we're going to take you out to the Westgate Bridge and throw you out of the car at 100 kilometres an hour. And oh, yeah, sure. They did, mate. They handcuffed me and they tied me ankles up with rope. And they would drive me out to the Westgate Bridge in his own personal car. And I was close to the door, and as we were going over the bridge, he's leaned over, he's opened the door. One of them had me by the back of the freaking hands with the cuffs on, and there was another one on the other side of him, leaned over, and he was kicking me out of the door like that. And dead set, Dave, I seen my life pass by, I seen that road, and I was just about to say, you got me, you got me, you got me. And one last plea, I said, you got the wrong person. He pulled me in the car, he said, you're fucking lucky. And he got me on the other side of the bridge. I said, how do I get back? He said, fucking walk. Anyway, I was at a drug dealer's place at Elwood about a week later in a hot Commodore, right? And I was under surveillance and I didn't know it. And it was raining. And he was a Turkish bloke. Anyway, I banged heroin up in his driveway, and I'm in this Commodore, a VHSLE 4.2 litre V8, and the drug dealer said, I want the seats out, I want the interior, I want the dash. I said, yeah, no problem. So I've had me shot of heroin, and I'm there smashed, and I'm trying to start the Commodore, and I was with this university student. I said, go in there and get me 6 Wedgwood donuts. I love these chocolate donuts down there, right? So this uni student has got in the shop to get the donuts. Next thing you know, I seen these lights come behind me. I looked up in a revision, and it was raining, so I couldn't see completely because all the rain on the back window. So next thing I heard, both doors closed, and I looked, there's this gun of Roscoe pointing at me like this in the car. He's gone, don't you fucking move, asshole, I'm going to put one fucking in you. I've gone, hey, pull up. Like, no, it's all good. And the car's going, right? And I've looked up, it's that fucking detective.
Oh, no.
And he's got a gun on me, right? I'm thinking, oh, this guy, this. I've just gone, and put it and took off sideways, right? In the wet. I've hit the car in front of me, bounced off it, hit parked cars on the other side of the road. I heard the back window comes in. I've leaned over, I'm driving the car like this and I can't see where I'm going. Smashed straight into a telegraph pole, bounced off the telegraph pole. Fucking the thing's still going. Anyway, went back around to the drug dealer's joint. I said, fucking listen, I got to get out of this area. He said, what? He looked out the window. There was coppers everywhere, man. He said, how do we get you fucking out of here? I said, your mate here. He was a taxi driver, right? I said, he'll fucking get me out of the area. He's going, me no take you. I said, somebody's going to take me. Anyway, I said, I'm not going anywhere, mate, unless he takes me. And he's gone, all right. And he's gone, get him out. So I've jumped in the cab and I'm laying on the back seat. And I see him put the engage sign on. And he's supposed to have no one in the car, Dave, right? And I'm going, what the f are you doing? And he's going, me engaged, me got fair. I said, the coppers go see it's engaged. No one in the car. You go draw the crabs on us. Turn the frigging thing off. So anyway, he's turned it off. And I get out of Melbourne and I come up here and say, f this, I'm going to Queensland. That'll be hopefully more nicer to me, you know. So I got on a Greyhound and decided I'll come up here and get on the methadone. So I arrived up here in '85.
Well, and you've been in Queensland since then?
Yeah.
Oh, what? So that's
yeah,
why I landed you in Queensland. True that. What, so did you know anyone in Queensland? Or?
Nah. No, I
Oh
didn't know
no.
anyone. I'm just friggin'. I um I arrived on a Sunday, and I went to the local church, and the father was there for cleaning up this after Sunday mass. I said, "Listen, Father, I need some money. I need somewhere to stay. I said I'm a heroin addict. I need to go to the hospital. I need some heroin. I need methadone." He said, "I don't know about that, son." I said, "Well, what about you? Got to get me some accommodation, Father." He said, "There's a Salvation Army at Fortitude Valley, Pindara in the valley." He said, "I'll give them a call." So he's called them, and they said, "Yeah, we've got some accommodation." And I said, "How do I get there?" He said, "Oh, the buses go every hour." I said, "I need to go to the hospital, Father." And he's gone, "Well, I said, "I need some medication, because I'm hanging out." He's gone, "Oh, well, you can go to the Royal Prince Alfred." And I said, you got some money for a cab, right? He's going, "Oh, you don't mind asking, do you?" I said, "Oh, well, you don't ask, Father, you don't get." So the poor old priest, I'm stamping him, get him accommodation, he's giving money for cabs. I ended up in the hospital. They gave me a heap of Valium. And then I got money off them for a cab to go to Pandara. And you wouldn't believe it, Dave. It was a Sunday afternoon. I rock up, and there's a couple of mates of mine from Sydney there,
What?
sitting out the front with all the winos and all the people, and they've gone, "Dean, I've got a porky. What's happening, mate?" So I just started running amok up here straight away. Got a car chase that day. Oh, fuck. It's all in that book. Yeah, I've written a 5-season, 50-episode miniseries out of that book
Oh,
for Netflix or
what?
Stan or for a streamer.
Far
It'd be
out.
a
That's
mad story.
massive. Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be
bro.
huge, man. Yeah,
That's
and it's all
huge.
true.
Yeah.
And how it turned my life around and friggin' and I've had a mad life, Dave. Like I've
That's
had a great
crazy.
life.
Well, I mean, bro, so then what ended up happening, bro, that led to that led to that change?
I'd spent 5 years locked up here. I wasn't out. I did heap of jail up here. I was in the riots right through the 80s. The upheaval about the conditions through the Queensland prison system. I was involved. I was involved in a lot of change. I jacked up a lot. 2 Division. When I first hit Bogger Road in 2 Division, Dave, they had shit tubs, mate. They didn't even have running water in the cells, bro.
Yeah, I heard about
And I'm
that, Dale.
saying it was bad, Dave. And I'm saying to the Crims, "You're going to fucking jack up, boys." I'm not saying I'm the whole catalyst for it, but I was running with a group that said, "Oh, this," got on the rooftop riots, and you've got to jack up and do something about it. So I kept going in and out of prison, and I was running with a good crew up here, good funny bastards, all armed robbers and friggin' all willing. And in 1989, I just finished 3 years, and I was going to go back onto remand. So I didn't want to go back onto remand without getting bail, but because I failed to appear so much and never turned up to court, the jail lawyer who looked at doing the bail application for me in the Supreme Court, he said, "You got any money?" I said, "Money?" I said, "I got no money." He said, "Well, mate, there's not a court in this land, Dean, that's going to give you bail." He said, "Have you got any friends?" I said, "Fucking, they're all in here." "I got no friends, mate." I said, "Oh, they're all crims." And he said, "Well, I don't know how I'm going to get you out." I said, "Get back into it. You'll find a way." Anyway, the next day he calls me up to the fence. He said, "Dean, have you ever thought about a rehabilitation centre?" I said, "Don't swear at me. Rehabilitation centre." I said, "Wake up to yourself. I don't need a rehabilitation centre." I said, "I'm not going there. It's full of dogs. They give people up. They're fucking weak. They got no go in them. Rehabilitation centre." Anyway, he said, "You don't understand. You can go there, Dean, and you can escape." And I looked around, I was in Maximum, and I was looking around, I thought, he's got a point. I said, do the application. And I landed there. Oh, Dave, it was the worst place I had ever been to in my life, man. It was terrible. I hated it. They're talking about feelings. They're talking about being responsible. They're talking about problems. They're weak. They don't fight. They got no go in them. They're crying. I'm going, what is this place? You know, and they're confronting each other every day. They're confronting me. They're saying, you know, you're a very sick individual, dude. You're very angry. You're very resentful. You're blaming everybody for your problems. You're very insecure. You're very threatening. You're aggressive. And I said, yeah, because of you. They said, what part of that don't you understand? I said, well, you enlighten me. And they're saying, Dean, you're responsible for all this. You're responsible for your reactions. You're responsible for what you're doing in your life. You're responsible that you're threatening. You're responsible that you're angry. I said, no, I'm not. No. You're making me feel this. They said, that's your problem. Right there. Right there, Dean. That's your problem. That's one of your biggest. They said, you got a lot, but that's one of your biggest. You've got to take ownership of yourself. I said, what do you mean? They said, you've got to talk about this stuff. Talk about it? What do you mean talk about it? You got to talk about how, you got to talk what's under your anger. You got to talk about what's under your hurt. I said, anger, hurt? Are you serious? I didn't believe there was nothing other than where I was. I didn't believe there was anything deeper, Dave. And yeah, I broke down one day and I cried. And I cried for about 4 hours, mate. And I couldn't stop. I was like a baby. And after all this, all the tears come out of my ducts, I was hyperventilating.
Wow.
I went for 4 hours, mate. And then I slept for a day and a half.
Wow.
And when I come out of the sleep, I got up, right? And I feel light. Like all this tension, I'm good. I've never ever felt like that. For years, I can't remember the last time I felt like that. And I walk out of my room, and one of my peers in my peer group, he said, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I feel really light, man. I said, "I just feel really, really light." And he said, "Can you go a bit deeper?" I said, "Oh, no." I said, "I just feel I'm not self-conscious. I'm not worrying what people think of me. I just everything had left me, Dave. Everything had gone for that moment. And he said, "Welcome to vulnerability, Dean." I said, "If this is vulnerability, I never, ever, ever want to leave it. I want to stay here to the day I die." And that was it. And when I changed, my whole life changed, and I found Jesus probably 6 years after that. But I changed on those principles, Dave. Do you understand about loving, caring, thoughtful, considerate, honesty, truth? And a guy a Malaysian guy gave me a VCR cassette one day after I had dinner, because I was asking him. He had this picture on the wall in his restaurant about Noah and all the animals, and the sky was pink. And I said, "Why is that sky pink?" He said, because back in the day it was very pure, wasn't blue." I said, "Oh, that's interesting." He said, "Have you heard of Jesus Christ?" I said, "No, I haven't." He said, "Take this." And he gave me the VCR. And I went home and I put the VCR in. I just cried. I couldn't stop crying. I said, I changed on those principles to myself. And that was it. Jesus, that was it. I'd already changed prior to that, but those principles were so powerful, and that rehab about goodness and being a nice person and showing your heart and talking about your feelings and your thoughts and your struggles all the time, and being genuine and being caring and being thoughtful and considerate, and genuinely changing. It's so powerful. It was all about honesty, about Jesus, and that was it, my brother. That was it, man. That was it.
Man, what a story, brother. That is incredible, man. And obviously God knew the path that he was leading you on, you know what I mean? That's obviously the steps that needed to take to bring you towards him, man. And that is just man, obviously, you're only scratching the surface here of the whole story, so I definitely highly recommend this book. Like, I'm a big believer that when you ask God for strength or things like that, he gives you trials, you know what I mean? He gives you trials to overcome that are going to give you that strength that's going to last the rest of your life, you know what I mean? Like, he's a hard man, you know what I mean? He's he's a
Well,
love, that's what a good father does, mate, you know what I mean? Nothing's given, man, you have to earn it, and it gives you that strength that's going to last the rest of your life. If you want that wisdom, he gives you problems to solve, you know what I mean, so that you know that it's just how it works, and
I love what you just said then, Dave, about nothing's given without it being earned, man. Like, it's so true what you just said then, mate. Mate, just overcome what you're fearful to talk about in life. If you can overcome what you worry about, what people think of you, and say what you truly are in your heart and in your soul, there's a lot of freedom in that.
a lot of freedom, and it's essential, you know what I mean? It's there's no ways around that, it's just something that has to be done when you want to make that change. It's speaking it, it's revealing those inner demons and things like that, because they can't exist in the light, you know what I mean? They can only exist in the darkness. Once you bring that light on it, they vanish, but that's the hardest part, is those first steps, for sure.
That's so wise, Dave.
Look, brother, again, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I will leave all of your links in the description, the YouTube channel. Look, man, again, brother, it's been a pleasure, man. And look, we'll talk soon anyway, brother.
All right, my man.
All right, God bless.
You too, bros.